It's Hugh Hewitt. Steve Daines is the senator from Montana. He's been selected by his colleagues in the GOP conference to run the National Republican Senatorial Committee, NRSC.org, for 2024, and the map looks good. Senator Daines, welcome. I hope this is a regular call as we check up on your efforts. Tell us about your plans for the NRSC this year.
Well, Hugh, as you mentioned, the map does look good. It is a very good map for Republicans, but we can't fall in love with the map. We've got some formidable Democrats that are serving in red states, but the top three target states will be Montana, West Virginia, Ohio. We've got Jon Tester, Joe Manchin, and Sherrod Brown. These are states where virtually all, statewide Democrats have lost over the years. There's only one statewide elected official in Montana that's a Democrat. That's Jon Tester. There's only one statewide elected official in West Virginia. That's Joe Manchin. There's only one statewide elected official that's a Democrat in Ohio. That's Sherrod Brown. And so they're really endangered species at the moment. And you look at it as a presidential year with the presidential election going on. Montana is going to vote for the Republican presidential candidate by 15 to 20 points. West Virginia by 35 to 40 points. Ohio by 7 to 10 points. So we start with an incredible pickup opportunity with those three states.
Now, Senator, this is controversial, what I'm about to ask you. I don't expect a complete answer yet. I want the NRSC to play in primaries. Not all of them. I want them to support, for example, Jim Banks and try and keep that field clear so we don't waste money on a seat that's easy for Jim Banks to win in Indiana. Montana, you've got two congressmen. They're both friends of yours, Ryan Zinke and Matt Rosendale. I don't know if you can do that in Montana. In West Virginia, you're going to have like 20 candidates. What is the NRSC's position going to be about participating early and identifying a candidate who is the strongest candidate who can win and funding them before the primary vote?
Yeah. Well, Hugh, if there's something that we learned from the 22 cycle is that we've got to get candidates that can win a primary, but importantly can win a general election. I'm sick and tired of losing. And at the end of the day, winners make policy and losers go home. We've got to find candidates that not only can win primaries, but can win general elections. So it's still very early, but it's not lost on us that we will do whatever it takes to win to make sure that in 24 we have a Republican majority. Hugh, here's why as well. If you look a little bit longer term, look to the end of the decade. If you look at the 24 cycle, the 26 cycle, and the 28 cycle, in 2024, as I mentioned earlier, we have three Democrats up in red states. Those are great pickup opportunities. But you look at 26, there are zero. You look at 28, there are zero. Hugh, we either deliver a majority in 24, or we could see the United States Senate with an enduring minority as Republicans for the rest of the decade. The stakes could not be higher. It's very important we win general elections.
Now, the NRSC obviously gets a lot of big donor support, but they need small donor support as well. How is the small donor campaign going?
Well, listen, the Democrats, as we know, has figured out small donor donations. They figured out how to get those $25 recurring donations. And the reason that is so potent and powerful for the Democrats and why we've got to work to close that gap is that those are hard dollars. What I mean by hard dollars, those are campaign dollars that candidates use directly, and they can buy media, a candidate, at 1/3 to even 1/10 of the cost of a super PAC. We saw that in Nevada, for example, where a candidate that wanted to spend money in the Las Vegas media market was one thing, but if a super PAC tried to spend the Las Vegas market, they paid 10 times more on rates than a candidate. So these small dollar donations going to candidates are critical. And we've already launched a website, it's called Senate24.com, Senate24.com, where supporters can provide donations, small dollars, $25, $50 donations. And we're escrowing those funds right now, and we'll apply those on the targets on our three top states, which is Montana, West Virginia, Ohio. Once the primary is complete, we'll move those dollars, those hard dollars, directly to candidates That's Senate24.com. We're getting an early start on that with digital fundraising.
You know, Senator Daines, I didn't know about that rule until J.D. Vance wrote afterwards that the small dollar is actually worth 10 times what a PAC contribution is because of the rate card rules of the FEC. And that just turned me into an apostle for $25 donations. And I hope lots of people go to Senate. Is it Senate, the number 2, the number 4, Senate 24?
It's just Senate spelled out and then 24.com, Senate24.com. So we're starting that now. You know, Lindsey Graham has always been the master. He'll go on TV and he'll put lindseygraham.com and he'll raise hundreds of thousands of dollars. And those are hard dollars, just as J.D. Vance mentioned. He's exactly right. And you know, we had a lot of issues in 22 around why we came up short. But one of the reasons is our candidates were underfunded on hard dollars by massive amounts.
One of the other reasons, Senator, is that some of our candidates were not very skilled in communicating. And I wonder, are you going to put on a boot camp for candidates? I look at, for example, in Ohio, Sherrod Brown is a gifted communicator. Now, I am a Buckeye. I've followed his career forever. I know how he's won before, but he is vulnerable. If you nominate Matt Dolan or Bernie Moreno, he will get beat. I don't care which of those two. He will get beat by either of those guys because they're both gifted communicators. But some people want, you know, you could kidnap Doug Ducey and drag him down to Arizona and win that Senate seat. But I think the Chamber of Commerce wants him to come and save them. What are you going to do? And he doesn't need any training, but what are you going to do with people who don't really know how to do this on the national level?
No, you're right, Hugh, because, you know, speaking as somebody who came from the private sector into politics, I mean, it is, there's an important, I'll call it sales and marketing operation needed to be effective to win races. Because you are the product as a candidate, and that affects your fundraising to get donors to give to your particular candidacy. But what we're going to do is we will have a boot camp operation where I remember I had this when I ran for the Senate in 2014. I was the first Republican elected to the seat in Montana 100 years. You know, we had an uphill climb, but we won. And they brought us into a TV studio, and they would throw questions at you, tough questions, and videotape you on your responses and train you to be a better communicator, first and foremost on the tough questions, but overall just staying on a simple and concise message. Hugh, when I ran, it was a 4-word message: more jobs, less government. I came from the private sector. I was a job creator, so I camped on the fact I knew how to create jobs, more jobs. And what conservatives want, what we want as Republicans, is less government. Keep it concise, stay on message, and it's a winning formula.
You know, my wife's best friend just moved to Montana. I don't know why. She left California. I know why people leave California. She moved to Montana, and I told her, go sign up for Ryan Zinke and start helping him get elected to Senate. Has Ryan announced yet?
No, Ryan has not announced. He just won that House race. I've known Ryan. Ryan Zinke and I went to Boy State together in 1979 when we were juniors in high school. I've known Ryan a long time. So and there's nobody's announced yet for the Senate race in Montana, so it's still early.
Okay, so we got anyone. Pat Morrissey announced in West Virginia. Matt Dolan announced in Ohio. I thought Ryan had announced in Montana, but I wasn't sure.
No, he hasn't. Nope.
Okay, let me look at some of the reaches. I think we can win Wisconsin with a good presidential ticket. I think we can, but you got to go get somebody to run, and Gallagher's not going to do it because he's running the Select Committee on China. I think, Maryland is a long shot. If Ben Cardin runs, it's possible that people are tired of 80-year-old senators. What do you think? Are there some long shots? What about Virginia and Winsome Sears? Tim Kaine is like the blandest man. A nice guy, but he's the blandest man in America. Winsome Sears is the opposite of that. What do you think?
Right. Well, you've named, by the way, some great potential candidates, but I think if you look at the presidential battleground states in 2024, there's 5. You look at out west, of course, Arizona and Nevada are going to be battleground states that Biden narrowly won in 2020. Then you've got Wisconsin, as you mentioned. You've got Pennsylvania and Michigan. There's an open seat in Michigan because Senator Stabenow announced her retirement. Those are all states with the right candidate. We can win in a presidential battleground type year. So I think 24 is shaping up to be a very good year for Republicans. Now, we thought we had a better outcome coming in 22. I understand this woman. I hate to see what happened. But I really, there's reasons to be just quantifiably optimistic right now in 24 looking at the map. However, you can't fall in love with that map, as we talked about, because we're running as formidable Democrats who understand how to win in a red state.
Let's close by talking about that team up north, that state up north. I'm from Ohio, so Michigan, basically they can fall into the sea, and I don't care, even though I went to law school there. But we could win Michigan. Republicans could win Michigan. We have in the past. It takes a center-right candidate. You cannot be an activist conservative candidate in Michigan and win. Does everyone understand that, Senator Daines? It's not a state like Ohio. It's not red like Missouri. It's a light blue state. It can be won, but you cannot nominate an activist from the far right.
Yeah, well, I think you see that's true, frankly, in most states, Hugh. I mean, I come back, the first president I got to vote for was Ronald Reagan. The happy warrior, the common sense conservative. Nobody doubted Reagan's conservative credentials, but he had the ability to win. At the end of the day, we've got to be attracting people to us. And we really, I think, repelled voters, particularly independent voters. You look at what happened in 22, independent voters voted for the Democrat, D+2 in a midterm. We should have had a massive wave of independence. It was the independent wave that broke the other way that cost us 22. You look at past midterms, 2010, 2014 with Obama in the White House, it was R+19, R+14 in those two midterm elections for independent voters. In 2022, independent voters broke D+2.
Wow.
That, I think, is really the core of what we face in 24. And it was not a problem. The red wave showed up in terms of the red echo chamber. Republican voters and conservatives showed up and voted in 22. The problem was independent voters did not like what they were seeing with many of our Republican candidates, to your point, Hugh, and they voted for Democrats. Soft Republicans either did not vote or they actually went Democrat.
Look, Senate 24 is wherever you ought to go. Senate24.com, Senate the number 24.com. Get Steve Daines the help that he needs, because we got to win this map this time. And I mean, we being Republicans, I'm an out and about Republican, proud of it, going down to the RNC. By the way, Steve, have you endorsed Ronna McDaniel for re-election as chairwoman?
I have. Yep. I'm on the record of endorsing Ronna. Yep.
So have I. I hope I see her tomorrow, and I will continue to talk. Anytime you want time, come on. We got to win this map, because the new Republican president and Speaker McCarthy and Majority Leader McConnell got lots of work to do. So good luck to you, Steve Daines. Keep coming back. Always a pleasure. I've not been allowed back in Montana since I fished out the Madison River a couple of years ago, but Steve's a good guy. Maybe he'll get me back into Montana. I'll be right back, America.